Salvetti Discipuli. Today's pretty short lesson is the final lesson in chapter 13 in Latin for the New Millennium. We're going to talk about the third person possessive pronoun and the third person reflexive adjective, okay? So let's go ahead and start defining some terms. The reflexive adjective, as we learned in the vocab list for this chapter, is suis, sua, suum. Now, what it means to be reflexive is that it always refers back to the subject, okay? So the reflexive adjective always referring back to the subject. And that means, depending on what the subject of the sentence is, you're going to translate suis, sua, suum, either his own, her own, its own, or their own. So if the subject is singular, it's going to be one of these three options, right? Depending on whether the subject is masculine singular, feminine singular, or neuter singular. Or if it's plural, it'll be their own, okay? Now, similarly, to show possession, you can use the third person pronoun in the genitive case. So, if you remember this from what we learned, is ea, id. That's eius for the masculine, feminine, singular, masculine, feminine, and neuter singular. Eorum, or earum for genitive plural, okay? Now, the difference between sua, sua, suum and eius, eorum, or earum is that this is the possessive for anyone but the subject, okay? So if the reflexive adjective always refers back to the subject, then if you want to show that his or her or there is anyone other than the subject, you use eius, eorum, or earum. And so it translates his, her, its, or their, but not the subject. Okay, now I know this can sound a little confusing. It actually is pretty straightforward. I have 4 sentences here as an example, so you should write down the sentences, and you should write down the translation as we come across them, okay? I mean, as we go over them. Okay, so let's look at these first 2 sentences. First one, puer matrum suam amat. Second sentence, puer matrum eius amat. Now, on the surface, both of these sentences are pretty much going to translate the same way. The boy loves his mother. The boy loves his mother. So what's the difference between suam and eius? In this first sentence, because suam always refers back to the subject, we know that the boy loves his own mother, as in the boy's own mother, right? Whereas in the second sentence, because we've used eius, this means his, and this his can be anyone but the subject, okay? So the boy loves his mother, meaning someone else's mother, not his own. Because if he was referring to his own, of course, we would have to use the reflexive adjective suam, okay? And this is true for the singular and for the plural. So if we change this to the plural, the boys love their mothers, their own mothers. We make that different when we change suas to eorum. The boys love their mothers, as in other people's mothers, okay? And really, that's it for this lesson. You just have to know that when you see suam, it's going to translate his or her or its or their, but it'll always be referring back to that subject, okay? If you see eius or eorum, they're probably going to be translating his or her or its or their, but it's going to be referring to something other than the subject or someone other than the subject, okay? All right, I hope you have a lovely evening and take good notes, and I will check them, and I will see you in class. Walete.